Everyone, how's everyone doing today? Welcome to Mastermind Academy. Good to have you. What's up, everybody? How's everyone doing? Rollers, number one, I promise you, we're gonna get the board in place for people who are first, because you know, being first is it's a rite of passage around here. So congratulations. You've definitely you taken the lead. There used to be a few other people who were always in really early during the boot camps. But you definitely, I think, have the most number of firsts for the excursions. But awesome, glad to have you. What's up, Sully? How you doing, Uncle Bill? Getting some food. I feel you. I just scarfed down a plate of spaghetti that I have over here to the side. Very you know, it was very comforting. You know, I'm happy now. You know, hopefully I don't get sleepy during I'm a little bit tired right now, but that's because I went to bed super late for no reason at all, simply just on my phone watching videos for no reason. But hopefully I don't get the itis in the middle of the stream today, but all good. What's up, Bast? How you doing? What's up, Blackbeard gent? How you doing today? Hope you're having a great day. What's up, Bevy of Codes? How you doing? Frankenstein, hey, how are you doing today? Today we are going to be wrapping up the Foundations in Linux course. So Waddle, Foundations in Linux. I'm hoping you all have gotten a lot out of this little excursion so far, at least enough to, as we do other things, as we do different journeys, as you hop in through different journeys, as you hop in through different excursions, I'm hoping that this helps, that this course has help to give you a base in Linux and kind of just, you know, help you at least be at the very least comfortable with, like, hey, I see him submitting these commands and I kind of understand what's going on and I'm kind of following. I really hope you have a decent understanding of the foundations of Linux. And so tonight we're going to round that out, and we're going to take it up a notch here. Tonight we're going to be doing bash scripting, and this is interesting because this is always a tough one because it's a little bit you're essentially you're programming, or you're going to be writing code, essentially. A lot of the same concepts apply. We'll go over some of those concepts tonight, but I think it'll be fun to kind of just get started. And also I wish that someone had taught me what Linux scripting was, what bash scripting was much earlier on. It's something I avoided for a very long time in my career because, again, it sounded like one of those things that was really, really hard until someone showed me that, you know, they showed me the script they made and it was just a list of Linux commands in a row. And I was like, that's a script? And I'm like, yeah, there, you know, scripts can get crazy, but like, also this is a script, and it really helped me out a lot. Like, once I saw that, it really made things a little less scary. So we're gonna round some stuff out tonight. I had a little you'll see when you get into the slides that I messed up the slides trying to apply. I tried to apply some changes. I got some updates made to my slides design wise through Fiverr, and I was trying to apply them to the master slide, and then I like messed up and I tried to do something else, and most of the slides are broken, so I pulled everything off and they're mostly just text and white background for tonight. But that's not a big deal because we're going to be in a text editor, we're going to be in the terminal the whole time tonight, so it should be pretty fun. The new Linux Bible is finally out. I'll check that out. It's pretty good. I want to go back in and because, again, I haven't gotten to do a lot of really cool like Linux administration over the past few years. I kind of want to spruce up my skills again and add a bunch of tools to my belt. So I might be, you know, we'll see. There's a number of topics I'm like excited to dive into. We'll see what I can get into. Just a quick hello. I started out with a series. I'm currently watching Waddle #2. Good stuff. Appreciate that. Baked sourdough. I like that name. It's a really good name. I do, in fact, like sourdough bread. I like sourdough. It's really good. I like sourdough donuts as well. But glad you're enjoying it. You know, you'll be at this part soon enough. No rush. You want to look into AWS certs? I agree. I think you should look into AWS certs. They're I think what's really good about the AWS certs is I think that the cloud as a whole, I think what AWS does a good job of is of testing you on their product, rather than I think there are some certs out there that rely too much on what their problem solves, what their service solves. And again, that does show that you know the product. That's when you do really know the product. But I have trouble finding I don't know. I have some trouble finding the value in that. I think AWS certs are nice because you can, one, study the services, and in the process of studying the services, really start to understand how some of these things work together. And I think the act of studying for some of those certs really puts some context around how you would actually use them. And I think they do a good job of testing you. Like, they give you a chance to pass them without having to have spent tons of time in the industry and seen some like real deep things, which I like. I've had some conversations about it. I understand why some people don't like that, but I prefer that for AWS certs. Yeah, I like that the AWS certs, and they have a good range of them. Once you get up into the Solutions Architect Pro and stuff, what the pro level certs are, they are vendor specific, but they're asking you, how do you conceptually solve this real world problem, and how do you do it using AWS? So it's a lot more tough, but I like that they have kind of levels in there for sure. But we're gonna get started immediately because last time we did this, in the DevOps course, that course was longer. The courses were longer. Every night it was 2.5 to 3 hours, and we struggled to finish. I'm not even sure we finished all the options. Not a big deal. It's not a big deal if we don't finish tonight. In fact, I kind of want to say that we should only focus on, this has 3 scenarios. I kind of really want to focus on the first one only. I've modified the extras of this one just a bit. It is the same. It's a lot of the same content as before, just because I think it's a good starting point to kind of get in here. But yeah, let's pull this up, and like I said, you can see everything's off, but I just put this back in place, so at least the bright blue one is still there, since I destroyed everything. But what I want you to do is, get your computer ready, get your fingers ready, get your mind ready, pull up a terminal, and pull up a text editor. If you're not comfortable with Nano or Vim, I highly recommend VS Code. We've talked about it before, but I highly recommend Visual Studio Code, because we're going to be writing a little bit of code. If it's Notepad++, whatever, I want you to focus on the concepts tonight. We're gonna for sure, if this is like your first foray into scripting at all, we're going to talk about some things, and we're going to do some things that are over your head, that are uncomfortable, but that's okay. Just kind of try to follow what the goal is that we're trying to solve, and I think you'll understand how you can start to continue down your journey of scripting. So let's get started immediately, like I said, because a lot of stuff is going to be in here, and I want to make sure we can at least get through a big chunk of this, because I want to teach you a little bit first. So scripting in Linux, E2 Brute. I put that there last time. I think I put that there because that is Julius Caesar, and it's a script. I guess I'm trying to figure out why I put that in there. When I put that in there, I guess it's a screenplay, or a play script. So I guess that's why I put it there. I don't know. Sometimes I'm just, lightning just hits, and I'm like, that's what I'm gonna put, and that's why I put it there. But first, let's talk about what scripting is, because it can be a pretty vague term, and it can be pretty confusing to a lot of people. But a scripting, or I did this last time too. I should have moved this. This is not a good definition, but a scripting or script language is a programming language for a special runtime environment that automates the execution of tasks. So I'm not even going to read. Well, the task could alternatively be executed one by one by a human operator. That is, I think, the most important part of kind of what we're gonna talk about, at least today. And I want you to realize today that the tasks that are in the script, we are basically automating something that you could do one by one by a human operator, that you could do one by one by yourself. These commands you could run one by one and achieve the same output. Scripting languages are often interpreted. We don't need to dive into programming languages and interpreted versus compiled, but interpreted just means, for this instance, and what you need to know today is just that interpreted languages are kind of real time evaluated. So kind of line by line, they just, you run the file, and the interpreter goes through and it sees if it can understands each of your instructions one by one. And so that's all it's going to be. This is, again, the most important part. We're going to take a task that we could do with all the Linux commands that we've learned so far, and all the things, all the, all the add users and all the, see how much memory we have, all those things. We're going to take a scenario that where we could use these commands to get the information that we need, or to perform the task that we need, and then we are going to put it into a script for the automatic running of these things, and we're going to learn how to do that effectively. But first we need to cover some base skills. I actually might need to open up one other slide deck for you all, but let's cover some basic skills. We talked about this before. Oh no, it's not. Never mind. I thought it was thunder, but it's the it's our home theater system downstairs, which is super bass heavy. It's way overpowering. It's pretty crazy. It's like it's an older like Vizio thing that I got really cheap like years ago, and like it's really weird, but it's like tons of bass. It's not good, but it's cool for movies, but you can't watch stuff past like 10:30 or you'll wake everybody up. But arguments, these are those flags that we've been talking about. These are options that are passed into a script at runtime to be interpreted. Runtime is what it sounds like. It is when the script is run. So when you go to run the script, that is runtime. And any other commands that we've run, things like ls, when you type in ls and we do the -l to get the longer listing, that is an argument. That is a flag. That's a command line parameter. And so you can do the same thing in scripts, because that really is a script. It's a little bash program like we're going to run today. Excuse me. These arguments and these parameters, they are positional. The location of the argument matters. So having something be the first thing or second thing or third thing, it does matter here. So you can pass them into scripts. So you can set up these flags that can be pulled into the script to make some determinations of what you want to do, and the position of them matters. It's just good to be familiar with that. The next thing we want to talk about is what's called a shebang. Have no idea why it's called this, but at the top of a script, you're going to see something like this. It's going to be a hashtag or a pound sign, depending on how old you are. That's what's going to determine what that is to you. But it's going to be a pound sign or hashtag with an exclamation point after it. And what it's then going to give you is it's going to give you a path to an executable to execute the script with. So commonly for bash scripts, you'll see /bin/bash. Maybe you'll see some other arguments or parameters or whatever afterwards, but it'll be something like this. If you are running a Python script, it might be the path to your Python executable, but this will be at the top. And what it does is it tells the script which shell to use to interpret the code that follows, or maybe not even shell, or which program to execute to go through and interpret the code that you've written below there. So if you didn't do bin bash, the bash shell is just a little program. It's an interpreter, and so it executes bash and it uses bash to go through that code. And so it tells it which one to use. Must be the first line of the code. It's got to be right up there at the top. And again, it can include optional arguments. It does not need arguments, but you can include arguments. Options, flags, arguments, are these interchangeable words in this case? Yes, as far as I'm concerned, they are. There may be a super correct term to use. I've heard them all. Most people I know call them flags. I've seen them on paper called positional parameters or parameters, arguments as well. So yes, I'll refer to them as all three because I'm not sure which one's right, but I usually call them flags. Pound. So if it's ZSH, then it'll be bin. Yes, bin ZSH. If you wanted to execute via ZSH, yep, it'll be that 100%. In musical notation, a hashtag or pound is called a sharp. That's true. An exclamation point is bang. I do know that. That I guess sharp bang. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you, Sully. That does make sense. I shared it before. I'm a bit of a musician, or I was a bit of a musician, a little bit of a YouTube sensation. I have a video with 1,000 views. I have another video with like 800 views. I had a video with 14,000 views. It was an Usher solo, but it got taken down because it got copyright striked, because I absolutely had Usher's music in there. But you know, a little bit of a sensation over here. I know a little bit about music, you know. But that makes sense. That's good to know. Now, I hope that's right, Sully, because I'm going to take you at your word, and I've already committed what you said to memory, and I'm going to teach it to everybody now. Like, literally, I'm going to go around being the person who explains why this is called this, and I'm going to be using that exact answer. So thank you. I do appreciate that. All right, let's move on. This is actually something we're not going to really dive into tonight. I want you to be familiar with this. I want you to know about this as a part of your Linux foundations. We've talked about it before, but I want to leave it here as something for you to refer to on your own, because I think you're going to come across some examples of like bash scripts and stuff when you're Googling for answers that might do some checking for these things, and I think it's good to be familiar with. But exit codes, and these are very important in bash scripting because you can make a lot of determinations based on these, but Linux processes return an exit code when they are finished. Whether they finish successfully or not, they return an exit code. These codes let us know the status of the run. They let us know whether or not a process ran successfully, whether it was killed. They give us information about what happened when a process was run. So there's a bunch of exit codes. Read about them. The one that you care about the most is zero. A zero exit code says, hey, everything this process was supposed to do, as far as I can tell, it did great. And a zero exit code, you can feel like everything went great, and then if you run into any other errors, it'll make some determinations on what happens with that. Again, you can use these in scripts. Tonight we're not going to do any of them. I think we tried to do something last time when we had enough time, but we probably won't get into this. Once you be familiar with it, but you don't need to be a pro, and we're not gonna get quite into the lab yet. That's a little bit premature there. I'm gonna hop in a drive really quick because I want to show you a few very simple, well, not very simple, but a few kind of core programming things that I want you to know about. Really, just two things, which is gonna be variables and variables and functions, maybe. I think is what we want here. And let's see. Variables looks like it's right here. Cool. So variables, real quick, I just want to talk to you about variables because these are very important. We talked about environment variables a little bit, but variables, all variables is a placeholder for a value. So it's setting up some a container. It's setting up this box that can hold a value, and you put a value in it. And whenever you refer to this box, it'll give you the value instead of whatever the box is. It'll give you that value, but the word is variable. That means the thing inside of it can change. The value that this is holding can change. And I'm going to show you variables a little bit. This is very important in programming. It's also very important in Linux, period. It's very important in bash scripting, being able to do that. And I don't think the other one's in here, and I'll leave that up for a second. And where are functions? And the last thing is a function. I do want you to know about a function as well. This is a little bit bigger of a concept. I'm running through it very fast purely because I think it'll make more sense contextually when we're actually doing something with it. But I want to really quickly just get you acquainted really quick. But a function is a block of code or a block of instructions for the computer that only run when called. So you set something up. You have this little block of code and it doesn't run. Like if you run the file, it does not run unless it's called. I'll show you how to call it, but it only runs when called. You can pass data known as parameters into a function. So these take these extra outside things as well, and that a function can return data as a result. We don't need to worry about that part. The part I want you to know about a function for what we're doing tonight is a function is a block of code or a block of instructions which only runs when it's called. And how do you call a function? You call a function by name. You simply call it by name with some parentheses. And bash, I don't think you need any parentheses. You need parentheses. I don't know. You might not need parentheses. I never remember. But that's how you call it. So a couple of different things given to you real fast. All of them possibly confusing without context. So now we should hop into the lab to get you a little bit of context. But any questions so far before we hop into the lab? If you just grab the slides, I saw someone ask for the slides. I'm gonna go back to the chat in a little bit. You will not get these slides. These slides are old because these are for something else. These slides for the lab are here. They're good reference. Everyone who's just joining, I messed up the slides because I have some new designs for the slides, and I tried to apply them a few minutes ago and I messed everything up. So they have no cool colors or anything like that. So just bear with me, but we will be hopping right into the lab. First off, what's up, Pluckbed 989? Good to have you. Welcome to the channel. What's that? Selfish Boars 9. Relived. What was that? Relieved Antelope 2. I was like, relived. Can't read sometimes, you know, a little bit far away, you know, glasses a little bit dirty. Relieved Antelope 2, good to have you. What's up, Pride Fulian 1? A lot of people coming through. Thank you so much for the follows, everybody. Pesky Raisins, Mere Garlic 2. Whoa, what is this? What's happening? Wow, where's everyone coming from? Silly boy, thank you so much for the bits. I appreciate it. Right when we're about to get started, thank you so much. You know, get me hyped up, get me ready to go. We are just we're about to do some bash scripting. We're learning a little bit about bash scripting. I'm about to drop you into a little scenario, and we're gonna start learning how to script out some cool things. Man, lots of follows. What's up, Decimal Buck, Abject Baboon? I love that, man. The names that are coming through are phenomenal. Welcome, everybody. Good to have you. Come on in, and get ready to lab it up real quick. So let me present you with the scenario. And this is the scenario, same scenario as before, but you work at a sweet healthcare startup. It is a very sweet healthcare startup. That startup just got some funding. You're doing well, and it just got some additional funding. So we're going to be adding a bunch of devs over the next few months. All right, but you're the only one who knows how to add, who knows how to do the process of adding users to the system. You're the only person. Only you. It's been you the whole time. You've been the only person managing those systems. Put yourself in the, you know, in what we're talking about right now. Imagine, you know, you're working at this healthcare startup, this healthcare tech startup. You've been there for a little while, and you know, you got some skills, and you've been the person that's managing the systems, and everything's going well. And you're like, hey, you know, everything's going good. You get some money, company gets some money, says, hey, we need to bring on a bunch of devs. You're still probably gonna be the only one managing the system, but we're bringing in some devs, and you're the only person who knows how to do this thing. Which is adding users to the system. Let's automate the task so others can assist you with dev onboarding. We're gonna switch it up a little bit, but yes. What is up? I don't know where everyone's coming from. There's lots of follows right now. I don't really know what's happening, but I do appreciate it. How's everyone doing? Good to have you. My phone is just ringing. It's like the sound is just blinging in my ears. Forsaken Seahorses. I love the names. The names are all amazing. But appreciate Silly Boy. Thank you so much for all the bits, the cheers, the hearts, the love. Absolutely, this is great. What's up, Sin City? How you doing? All right, let's do this. Let's get this going. Now that you're in, that's amazing. A little bit. Got to get the rest of the bits out. I do appreciate that. I do appreciate it. I do. But I also understand, you know, we're trying to follow chat. We're trying to ask some questions as well. So as I do appreciate it, you know, I'm not gonna tell you to stop, but definitely, you know, be courteous to you. But we're all working at this company, so just remember that we need to automate some tasks. It was simply adding users. Let's start there. But first, before we even do that, let's write a bash script. Let's see what one looks like. Let's just see what a quick a quick bash script looks like, because I don't want you to be afraid. I want you to, we've learned a bunch of commands, and I want you to see what this looks like before we hop into something crazy, so that you can, see what it's like. So I'm gonna make a directory called bash lab. I'm gonna go into bash lab, and this is where we're gonna do everything. And what we're gonna do now is make a simple script. So I am going to be using Vim, like I said, but you can use VS Code or whatever you want to do. So all you're going to do is open up a file, and the extension for a bash script is .sh. And so I'm going to do example 1.sh. I'll just do example.sh. And simply, I'm going to put the shebang at the top, and I'm going to put the pound, exclamation point, and /bin/bash. Remember, as we go through things, try to remember what we were just talking about. Try to remember why I'm doing the thing that I'm doing. Again, this tells this file. So I want to be clear. You can still run a bash script without that shebang, but you cannot. I don't think you can call it by name. I don't think you can just call it by name. I think you have to tell it to run with bash. If you do not add something like this at the top, it will still run. But let's go ahead and do a very simple bash script. I can write a bash script that says, hey, first go ahead and do an ls-la. And so we know what that command does. This bash script it's not a language. It's not a coding language that you don't know. These are bash commands. These are Linux commands in here that you can do. So that is one line. If I want it to be one line, and so I can say, hey, first go ahead and list out everything that is right here. And then I can say, all right, also echo out, cool, I can see all the stuff in this directory. So this is just another command, just another command. And maybe we can do something like free-h to see how much memory we have. And maybe even before that, we want to say echo, let's check our memory, and then we run free-h. And so we have 4 completely separate Linux commands. This is a terrible script. It doesn't do anything for us, but it is in fact a script. Remember, the definition that we were looking at says, hey, a script is comprised of things that could be run manually one by one by an operator, and so that's what we have here. That's exactly what we have here. I could run each of these commands individually, no problem, and they will get some output. But let's see what happens when you put them into a script, what this does. And so I'm simply, I need to make this executable. Well, I don't have to. I think I could just do this if I wanted to. Whoa. What's happening with my keyboard? Oh, yeah, so I could just run it like this. This is not how you normally run it. I'm gonna clear this out really quick. The way you need to make it executable first. We learned about Linux permissions, and so if I do an ls on here, it actually is executable, but it only looks that way because of the way the Linux subsystem for Windows works. I'm not going to change it. The way that you would make it executable easily, we talked about this before. You can give it a chmod plus x and the name of the file. This will make your script executable. And this is what you should do. You start a new script. After you open it up, after you save it, you simply do chmod plus x and the script name. Now go back to what we learned about it. Chmod, it's going to be the change mode. It's going to change the permissions. The plus x just says, hey, go ahead and add the execute parameter, make it enabled, and so that will make it executable for your user. And actually it makes it executable for everybody, but I'll check in a little bit. And so once you do that, you can do this. You can do a /example.sh. And so this just says, this is just a paradigm of calling it via its name, basically, to run this. You could give the full path if you'd like. So I could give it the full path to this file, and this will run the script for us. And what it does is it goes through and it is reading, it is interpreting the commands that are in that file. It's interpreting every single one, and it is running them one by one from the top down. That's what it's doing. And so the very first command was an ls-l command. And so that's what this output is right here. If I do an ls-l, this is the output that I get. I think I must have did a LA, I guess. Yeah, I must have did this command. And so this output is the exact same as this output. And then I wrote that stupid echo command that says, hey, cool, I can see all the stuff in this directory. Then I echoed, let's check our memory. And then I can see our memory right here. And so it went through and it interpreted each of the commands that we had. And, you know, it kind of ran through and it executed all of them for us. Now, great question about the sh, silly boy, about the sh example to sh. Yes, I could. I could do this. Why? I don't know. See, this is I don't know why it's doing this. I could do this and it would still work. Why? Sh is simply a I actually think it's an alias for bash now. Which sh, oh, it's just been sh, but sh is just a shell like bash. So bash is the born again shell, sh is the kind of original shell, the born shell. I think it's just the born shell, and bash is the born again shell. And so I actually think it still ends up executing via bash, but sh just is doing the same thing as if we would have called bin bash. It's using sh to kind of kick that off. So it's basically like we're running this. And so that will work. It will work, but no need to do that because we put the shebang at the top. Yeah, the initial / used to confuse me as well until someone told me, like, I thought the / was like a paradigm of execution, but it's not. It's just that's how you call the file where it is at the current location that it's at. Oh my gosh, I really dislike this sometimes, ZSH. And so it won't find this command. If I do it like this, it won't find the file properly. So you got to give it a path. The dot means right here, and / that file. So pretty interesting. I'm using ZSH. I really should be using bash for this, but I'm using ZSH. That's the shell I'm using. But the terminal I'm using is in fact the Windows terminal. That's all it is. It's just Windows terminal from the Microsoft Store is what you can grab. So I need to update my terminal command because I usually use Hyper, and I do have Hyper on here. And that's probably, you know, it's a good terminal as well. You know, got a little bit of Hyper going on there, but I'm giving Windows terminal a try. All right. Something happened. Mute events. There we go. All right. Let's do what's next. So that's just a script right there. So let's look at that again. I just put 4 random commands in this file and it ran them one by one. Pretty simple. Like, I think the word script and scripting and like coding and programming and automation, all that stuff always sounds pretty crazy. But at the end of the day, it was me putting just 4 basic commands in a file. So I would highly encourage you to just start your journey by taking some of the commands that we've been practicing and make a directory and make a file and move that file and see if you can automate like see if you can put together some steps to, I don't know, to move some stuff around or just see what you can kind of do. Cause I think it's, it really is, that's essentially what you're doing now. There's a lot of tools. There's a lot of different things you can use to make it much more robust, much more powerful. There gets to be a point where you can make some decisions and, there's a bunch of stuff in here that makes scripting much more powerful, but at the end of the day, this is what it is, and you can simply start by running these commands. All right, that's our example. Now let's get back over and let's do what we're supposed to be doing with this scenario. So, working at a company, got some funding, we're gonna be hiring a bunch of people, got to get them added to the system. We're the only one who knows how to do it. So these are the requirements. These are what the script needs to do. This is what we have to be able to do. And let's go ahead and figure some of this out. And so there's gonna be some extras after this, but we're gonna keep it pretty simple. And we're just gonna work through one by one and learn how to do different things in a script. So a script can be run to do the following. That's what the requirement is. A user can be passed in as a command line argument. So that's the, we're coming out of the gate. The number one requirement probably should have been a user can be created via the script, but a user can be passed in as a command line argument. That's the number one thing. And then next, a user is created with the name of the command line argument. So we're kind of tying things together. So number one, we need to be able to pass in a user as an argument, as a positional parameter. Number two, we need to take that person that's passed in, that flag that's passed in, and that user, a user is created with the same name that's passed in as the command line argument. All right. Three, a password can be passed as a command line argument as well. So we're gonna pass in a password, and then the password gets set for the user. And then a message of successful account creation is displayed. So we have a number of things here. And yeah, I mean, we've learned how to do all of these things by hand before, but we've never done them in a script. So let's see if we can do them in a script. Hold on, sorry, there's a bunch of stuff going off. Just monitoring my network since it's storming. Okay, cool, sorry. All right, so let's do exactly this. Let's actually copy and paste, and we'll copy and paste this into the script so that we know what we're doing. So I'm gonna open this up, and I'm simply we're gonna get started. So what we're gonna do is first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna create a file for the script. I'm gonna call this user creation.sh. Call it whatever you like. The name does not matter. I am gonna call it this. All right, and I'm simply going to paste in this stuff here, and this is all of the requirements that we have for at least this part of the script. And we'll see how fast we can get through this part, and we'll move on to the next part. But I'm gonna put this in as a comment, and that's another thing you're learning today about scripting and bash period. The bash interpreter is gonna go through and it's gonna interpret each line of code that's in here. You can get the interpreter to skip over lines of code that you do not want it to interpret. So you say, hey, I have some sentences here. I have something here that I do not want bash to actually do anything with. So you can create a comment, and the way that you do that is with a pound sign, and you can see how it changes color, and that is there to indicate that, hey, this line won't be interpreted by bash. And so what we're going to do is we are going to make all of these lines comments so that we don't have to worry about them being run. This is not these aren't bash commands. This is not anything bash can understand. We will get an error if we were to run it like this. So I'm going to comment all this stuff out really quick. Hold on. I always forget how to block comment. I think I can do hold on. Then I can do Control V, J, Shift I, pound, escape. Boom, I did it. I never like I forget it every time, but I did it. My Vimfu it's not strong, but it's weak, but it is growing. Every day it's growing, and the more and more opportunities I get to do things like that, I will do it. There's easier ways to do it, but I wanted to remember how to do it with kind of just raw Vim. Can you wait on user input in a script? Yes, you can ask for user input. You can wait for user input in a script. I mean, we should pass it in, but you can absolutely get input from bash. Just like we did with, I don't know if anyone followed like the Python course or something. You can ask. You can like ask and wait. Yep. The same way that like when we try to install, when we run an update or something and it asks us, hey, you know, are you sure you want to install these things? And it waits for a yes or no. You can do the exact same thing in your script. But we're not going to do that here with this. Not right now. I don't think. Maybe we will. Deshaun, thank you so much for the sub. All is well. I'm glad they're helpful. Let's get going. All right. So script can be run to the following. A user can be passed as a command line argument. Now, command line arguments, I said that they were positional parameters and their position mattered. What that means is that gives us, because their position matters, it gives us the ability to refer to them as with a number. So the way that you can handle positional parameters in Bash is with a $sign and the number. So if I do $1, it's referring to the first positional argument that is passed into the script. If I do $2, it's referring to the second one, 3, and so on. There are easier ways to handle. I'm starting from the bare basics. I'm not teaching you the perfect ways to write these things right now. I'm giving you the tools, and again, we'll get better as we go along. But $1 is how we can refer to the first positional parameter. And so we're gonna say, hey, a user can be passed in as a command line argument, and let's test this and let's see how it works. If $1 is used to say, hey, this refers to the first item that's passed in. It's kind of a variable for that first item, for the value of that first item. How can we confirm that this is working properly? And so we can, hold on one second. We can echo it out. So a lot of times when you're scripting, if you want to get some output, if you want to know what's going on, the echo command, the echo Linux command says, hey, take whatever comes after this and spit it out to standard output. This is a good way to check the values of things. It's a good way to figure out what's going on in a script. So the first thing we're gonna do is say, hey, we have a script now. Actually, first thing we need to do is add in the shebang at the top, just so we're practicing things that we learned tonight. All right, and these are the instructions. The first thing we're gonna do is echo $1. And so what this should do for us is, if we are to pass in something into the script, it should take it in and it should echo it back out to us. So it should spit it back out to us if we were to pass something into this script. And so I'm gonna save that file, and then I'm gonna make it executable. So I'm gonna do chmod +x user creation.sh. All right. And I'm going to run it now. The way that I run it is /user creation.sh. And so first I'm going to run it without passing in anything. Now, the interpreter knows nothing about what you want to happen. It only can do what you tell it to do. So right now I run it. Everything's actually all good. Nothing really happens. We don't get any errors. We don't get any outputs. If we were to check the status code here, it would in fact give us a, it would in fact give us a 0. Actually, I never remember how to check status code. Is it just this? Is it, no, echo, how do you check? Let's Google it real quick. Linux, check status code of last command. Something pretty simple. Get exit code, the ampersand, oh, it's $? Close. Yes. All right. So $? And what we have here is we get a 0. And remember, when we talked very briefly about exit codes, that means a successful run has happened of this script. It didn't spit anything out. It didn't do anything, but it ran successfully. The interpreter interpreted the lines of code, did not encounter any errors. Everything is good here. So remember, it's supposed to take in a user from the command line. And so we run it again and we pass in a user and we pass in Aaron or something. It spits Aaron back out to us. Remember, up here, it didn't do anything because we didn't pass anything. So it did actually work. It actually echoed out nothing. We passed in nothing. It echoed out nothing and went back to the prompt. It successfully completed this. We do it now with a command line parameter, and it does, in fact, spit that out for us. Now, it doesn't hurt if we do more, just words. It only does the first one. All these don't matter. None of these positional parameters, none of these flags matter to it because we didn't tell it to do anything with it. It does when we're issuing the command, these are getting passed in, these are getting executed along with the command, but the script doesn't care about them at all because we haven't told it to care about them. The script only does what you tell it to do. So we are at the point where I think number one may be complete. And let's open this back up and see what number one was. Number one says, hey, a script can be run to do the following. A user can be passed in as a command line argument. So the user's passed in as a command line argument. But a common thing to do right now, it's just there, and the $1 is here. But to make this a little bit more readable, let's start to incorporate some of the other little things that we just learned about, like variables. Remember, variables are there to be these placeholders for values. So let's go ahead and let's save the value. Let's save the value. No, you know what? I lied to you. I think I need to wait. I think that's something that I added in as the extras. I think we want to keep it as simple as possible right now. What's up, Rocow? How you doing? What's up, Hat Matter? How you doing? Oh yeah, you gave me the command. It would have been faster than if I searched for it when I did. But thank you. All right, so we're not gonna do that yet. We're gonna do it exactly how it says it. I'm gonna try not to jump too far ahead. Yeah, so you can definitely you can absolutely post a link. Links are absolutely allowed if the Nightbot should be pretty open and not restrictive. Post whatever you want, even so if it's on brand, like even if it's people have asked me this before, even if it's information, like you can do self-promotion for yourself if it's relevant to the content that we're doing now. Like if we're talking about Bash or something and you're like, suddenly you're like, hey, I literally have a Linux course on this that people can check out as a resource. Post it. I'm completely fine. Post whatever you want. Let's see. Teaches command line knowledge. Dope. This is great. Excellent. I'm gonna check this out a little bit later. This looks cool. Command line challenge. Excellent. That's nice. What's up, Mr. Demon Wolf? How you doing tonight? Good to have you here. Doing a little bit of simple bash scripting. Not correct bash scripting, simple bash scripting. I won't say not correct, just we're keeping it simple right now. So a user, the next thing is that a user is created with the name of a command line argument. Of the command line argument. Now, how do we create a user? We learned that we can use the add user command, or we can use the user add command. One does a little bit more than the other. And so let's try that with the user add command. Is a little more low level, pretty simple. Let's start with the add user command. The add user command does a little bit more. Let's see what happens if we try to do this in a script. And these are gonna start to be some of the paradigms you run into, where this is where your experience kind of helps out. You're gonna run into stuff like what we're gonna see here. Definitely what we're gonna run into with the password. But let's see. We know we can add a user with add a user, and we can add a user called test1, and didn't work, so we can run sudo add user test1. And we can run it, and it looks like it creates it and it starts asking for output. And so we could go through and try to do that. And we know that it would create the user for us. No, I don't want to try again. I want to get out of here. No. All right, so whatever. So did that actually create a user? How do we know? We got to cat our Etsy password file. And it does create the test1 user for us. We can delete that user in a second. But let's go back into here. And we know that we can simply use the add user command. So let's start there. Let's start out with the add user command. So add user, and it's add user and then the name of the user, and that's all we want. And so in this instance, what is the name of the user? The name of the user is whatever is passed in as a command line argument. So it's $1. So we don't need that first line, but I'll leave it there for now. And we can say add user $1, and we can see if this works, and implement something, and let's see if it runs. Let's see what happens if we run it. So first thing it'll do is it's going to spit out whatever we passed in as an argument. Then it's going to try to run the add user command with that same value as something that we plugged in here. And let's see what happens when we run this. /user creation.sh. Only root can run this, and we didn't pass anything. We need to pass in a name, but it says, hey, it spits this out, but it says add a user, only root may do this. So I can add a sudo, or I can type in sudo over here, either one. And it says, add user, please enter a username matching a regular expression configured via name regex. And it gives us a bunch of different options. Okay. And so let's actually see what the output of that command is. So let's say echo, see what the exit code is. Echo $? And now we get an exit code of 1. That is not a successful exit code. It is actually it's not a successful exit code. And so let's go ahead and look back. I think I put the thing in here, and it says general or unknown error. Oh man, general or unknown error. It's super problematic. You know, it doesn't know why it failed, but it is not a 0 exit code. There is a problem, and the problem is simply that this script will not properly take in, when it's running like this, will not properly take in an input from the current bash shell. And you know, it doesn't really work. So there are ways to use this add user command, but generally one of the reasons why some of these older lower level commands are still around that do a little bit less stuff is because of things like this for automation purposes as well. And so we can switch this up really quick, and we can do user add. Now, if you want to, I suggest taking it upon yourself to learn what that output was actually telling us, what we could do to allow this to work with the add user command. But let's simply see if we can do it like this. And so let's rerun our command now, and it spits out Aaron, and it comes back with, you know, takes us back to the prompt. But we check what our exit code was. Our exit code was in fact a 0, and we have successfully run this script. And how can we confirm that our user was created? And we do cat password again, and the user, capital A Aaron, is now here on this computer, and it's really nice. Now, it didn't do a lot of other things. It didn't, I doubt it created a home directory for me. If we do ll/home, it did not create a home directory, because again, we're using this command that is a little bit lower level, that does not, you have to be explicit if you want some things to happen that do have the ability for you to do that. But yeah, we didn't do that, but we can add that. And let's see, man, user add, I think it's a -m or k or something, not k, skeleton directory, not k, m. -m will simply create a home directory for us. And so I think we want that to happen. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna add that to this script. First, I'm gonna manually delete this user, and I'm gonna do a user del, do sudo user del, Aaron. All right, so now this user is no longer here. Aaron's not there any longer, but let's add user add -m. Let's add that -m command so that we can now, it'll create a home directory for us. And let's do Aaron again. And so it creates that user again for us. And if I cat/etc password, now I'm here again. And if I ll/home, it also created a directory for us. Now, there are a number of options with the user add command, a number of options. Like, look at this, the shell is not bash, it's binsh, you know, and sh just simply is not as good as bash. And so actually, if I were to switch into that now, I wouldn't have some of the features that I'm used to. If Aaron were to log into this system, it actually looks like Marco Dev. First off, Marco Dev, how are you doing today? How are you doing? I didn't see all. I definitely see that you're trolling a bit. I love it. But yes, the add to the wheel, add the shell as well. But you can pass in other arguments to set up the settings for the user. But right now, no, it's all good, all good things except for the kill $. Everything else is super valuable. But yeah, so this does in fact create a user and the home directory for us. So that's nice. It will create users for us, so it looks like we are part of the way in. We're part of the way into what we want to do. And again, we haven't done anything wild yet at all, but we've automated a little way for you to quickly add a user with a directory. You know, it's actually probably more typing than just typing in add user, but we're just getting started with the script. So we've already completed the first two things that we have here. We can pass in a command line argument, which you can always do by default, but we're actually using it. And a user is created with the name of that command line argument. Great. Now a password can be passed in as a command line argument as well. That's the next thing. So, and then the password is set for the user. Now we learned how to do this before. We learned that after you create a user, even if you create them without a password, you can use the passwd command to set their password. So let's do an example, and I can type in sudo passwd and then the user's name. Username is Aaron, and I can enter in a password for Aaron. And I have to enter it in twice, and that works. All right, so we say, all right, cool. You know, you should hopefully, if you remember what they want us to do, you might be a little confused already. You might say, all right, password can be passed in as a command line argument, and then the password is set for the user. You just saw me type that in via the command line. I didn't pass in anything. I typed it in via the command line, and you might be like a little confused, but okay. We know these things are positional, and so we'll make it a little bit better. Let's add a little bit of wording to this echo statement to show you where we want to do, like, show you what we're doing here. And we can say something like, the username you passed in is, and it'll tell us what username is. All right, and then you can say echo, the password you passed in is $2. All right, because remember, these are positional. So if I pass in the username as the first option and I pass in the password as the second option, then I refer to the username as 1 and the password as 2. And you might try to do something like passwd $1 $2. And why would I try to do that? I'm saying, hey, I know the command to set someone's password is passwd with their username, and we know that username is $1 right now. And then you might say, maybe I can pass in the password here. I don't know. Try some things out, explore a little bit, and let's see what happens when we run this. And let's try to user create with James and a password, which is going to be password 1234. And it says, hey, your username is James. The password you passed in is password 1234, but then we get some errors here with the password usage. So again, you can't do this with password at all. You cannot pass it in to the command this way, and so you have to do something else. There are a number of options for this. The easiest one being for user add. And this is where you would look at, like, this is where I would say, hey, look it up. So like right now I'm referring to a lot of things that I know, but you get here and you say, hey, like, I don't know, like, I know that to add a password, I was taught to use the passwd command. And it seems like there's no way for me to pass in a value easily with that passwd command. It needs some kind of user input during the process. And you might Google and you might say, hey, bash script, add user password, add a user with password. Let's try that. And you might Google it, and I already can tell you right now, it's going to come up with a number of different options, and that's for you to parse and to find out. That's where a lot of the learning happens when you're Googling like this. And so one of the easiest way is this one, is with a -p and encrypted password here. And so this one is a little bit interesting, which is nice. But you can also do, there's a few different options for this. There's this, I want to see if this gives us a different answer. Let's see. So this one, yeah, this is an interesting one. This is putting together some Linux commands to do the same thing. Now you would look at this and you might say, I have no idea what's happening here, but all they're doing is they're actually, you've seen echo before. So they're saying, hey, go ahead and echo the password out. And this pipe here allows you to chain some commands together, but it also takes the output of the left and kind of sends it towards, it takes that and it passes it along to the right. And so it says, hey, echo out the password that you want, and then run your password command with the username that you care about, with this letting password know that you can pass in things through standard input. And so this actually I've actually never done this one before, and I'm glad we looked this up, because this makes perfect sense. This is usually the way that I see it, and I can see here that this one actually has more upvotes, but they're probably older upvotes. This is another one. There's a command called Password. I'm only showing you this. The biggest reason why I Googled this instead of just doing one of them is to show you that there are a lot of different ways to achieve the same thing in Linux and programming, in any really technical field that you're going to be looking at or learning. And it can be overwhelming, and you can get into one and you can be like, man, like why is this one better than the other? Those are things that take time. I please feel comfortable playing around with them. You might try one out and you might think one's better than the other, just because one worked when you copied and pasted and the other one didn't because you missed something. But there's a lot of learning that comes out of just trying some of these things. Again, do it in a safe place. Don't be trying to do random stuff you don't know about on a production system. But that's really nice. So I say let's try this one for fun. Same thing applies to 3D modeling. Hey, look around, try it out. But it really, you'll get so many different answers when you Google, and it's okay to not be sure which one's right, because it's just Linux commands. I would practice trying these Linux commands out outside of your script, so you don't have to keep running your script and creating new users and stuff. And I could say, hey, I'm going to take this and I'm going to try to set up the password again for that user Aaron. So I'm going to paste this, and let's keep the password as the password. And so we're going to echo out the password. And so we know what that command does by itself. And so you can delete all this to see what that command does by itself. That simply spits this out. Now, if we do this, the username that we care about, the username in question this time is Aaron. All right. And if I do that, it says, oh no, that did not work. Unrecognized option, standard in or password. This actually might work with sudo. Let's see. Just want to check. And if it doesn't, no big deal. So we can look at it and we say, all right, this command that they told us to use, it is not working for me. And it gives you, whenever a command doesn't work, it gives you a little bit of output here. And it's like, all right, I don't see, standard in on here. So this one doesn't really work for me. And then what you can do is you can go back and you can say, all right, I looked at this and it's like, this is not working for me. And maybe I can read through some of the other options, and it says bonus method that is secure, echoes built-in. You can say, all right, that doesn't mean anything to me. But this person's saying, hey, I had to do echo-e password /in password /in pass WD, and you can try that. It says, hey, standard in has been deprecated in newer Linux systems. Please use Password instead. And so this is how you start to really learn. This is the stuff that, like, now again, you can go to an interview and something around this might come up, and just because you were trying to find an answer, you kind of have learned that, hey, there was a way that I could, echo this out and use standard input to set the password. But, in newer Linuxes, I no longer can do that. and it sounds like that password is the thing that I should do. And so they give us a little example here, and it says echo username colon the new password, and you pipe it to password. And they're nice enough down here to say, hey, change password for username to new password. All right, so I think this is how you stumble upon answers. This is kind of the process that I take. Look, some people have given us some other options with user add again and -p open SSL pass 1. Oh, this is nice. Actually, we should come back to this. This is a line to add a user with a defined password in one bash line. Great. You can try that out as well if you wanted to. But let's go ahead and just take the one with the most upvotes. I say the one with the most upvotes, generally is the one I'll take a look at first. And so we can try that out. Again, we can try that out from the command line right here before we actually do it. And we want to change the username, the password for username Aaron. And our new password is the most secure. And again, it's password 1234. And we do it. It says changing password, and it says authentication error to password not changed. All right, manipulation error. Something failed. I don't really know why it failed, to be honest, but we're gonna find out. I wonder if that's because that's what the password already is. I'm just checking. Or I wonder also if it's a sudo problem. Yep. Why the sudo here? And it seems like it changed the way that I can check. I can sue to Aaron, and I can type in password 12345, and it does allow me in. If I type in who am I, it says I am Aaron. So the password is what you can do to change passwords. And again, we Googled that and we spent time going through that. It's simply because these are the types of things you'll run into while you're scripting all the time. And I want you to start to feel comfortable to just Google it. Like Google everything. Literally just Google everything, and you'll start to find answers, and you can start to comb through answers, and you'll learn a lot in doing so. And so now we can add that command to our user creation script. And so we're gonna delete this line, and we will paste in what was it? It was, I don't even remember what the command was. It was echo, and then it was what echo. You actually, no, I don't remember what it was. Let's go back and see. It was echo username colon password. So echo username, what is the username in this case? The username in this case is $1. Remember, we're passing in the user as $1. We're passing in as the first positional parameter. So we're going to use it again here. Echo $1, and the password colon password. We're passing in the password is number 2. All right, and then we pipe that to pass WD. Is that what it was? I think that was the command. Never remember. Yep, pass WD. Now we did use sudo there, but we're gonna run the whole thing with sudo and see if this works. And so let's see if this works. And let's try to set up slash user creation, and we'll create an account for Bobby. And the password for Bobby is going to be hat 12. All right, so Bobby hat 12, and if I hit enter, the username you passed in is Bobby, the password you passed in is hat 12, and if I try to switch to Bobby, when I type in hat 12, I am in fact logged in as the user Bobby. This confirms for us that this user is created, but again, you can cat/sc pass WD to confirm Bobby is in fact in this system as Bobby, and Bobby is created with a password passed in there. So made even more progress. So our script now takes in a username, sets it as the user, takes in a password, sets it as the password. And then the last thing that we need for step 1 is a message of successful account creation is displayed. All right. We know how to send messages with the echo command, and we can say account. You can say whatever you want here, but I can say account for, and I would like to say account for the user is created or has been created. And you want to make these messages as descriptive as possible. So instead of the user, we use the actual username. And we'll go $1. Account for $1 has been created. Account for whatever this user has been created. And we can run it again with Bobby with an IE at the end, and it creates it again, and it says account for Bobby has been created. So we've kind of finished up the first piece of this, and so what we do is there's a bunch of extra stuff in here. I don't need any of these echo commands up here. I do need this one, but something you should also do is let's delete all this stuff since we're done with all this now. And let's add in some comments to let people know what's happening in here. So comments are great for documenting what's happening in a script. And you can say something here instead of, we don't really need this line. We can say creates a user named from the first argument, and just write a little thing to yourself that says what this line does. Right now, the things that we're doing are pretty simple. So, you know, they're pretty self-explanatory when you take a look at them. But when you get a little deeper in and you start adding more and more logic, you can forget what's going on. You can, you know, there can be a complicated piece that's not very readable. And, you know, these are good notes to yourself or to whoever's taking a look at this on what's happening. And you can say sets password for user created in previous step. And now you can say I don't even think you need to say anything for that. So we're starting to have a script that is coming together. It's coming together slowly, but it in fact is coming together for us. And so that is part 1. So take a look at it. Take a look. See if you can follow with what we did. Yes, previous. There we go. You know, the fingers, the fat fingers, they often miss keys as much as they hit extra keys as well. All right, so add a user up top. We could add in some more parameters here, but we're just trying to learn some new things. So very basics. Part 1 was designed to show you some basic commands and to use, you know, really run one command after another. No real logic here, no fancy things. We haven't used any really programming paradigms. We haven't used things like loops. We haven't used those functions. We haven't used a lot of these things yet, but that was part 1 of the scenario. So let's see what comes after part 1 of that scenario. After part 1 of the scenario, we get a part 1 bonus, a requirements bonus. And so this works, and it's, you know, it's here, it's a thing. It does what we wanted to do for part 1, but it's, I mean, it's not the most readable thing in the world. There's these $1 ones and twos around, and like, I mean, you know, it could be a little bit cleaner, it could be a little bit better. So instead of how we have it now, let's make it a little bit more readable, and let's capture the command line arguments as variables and use those variables when referencing the value of the script. Like I said, I don't know what happened. I really don't know what happened to these slides in my attempt to add my new stuff in, but they got all gross. But we're going to use those variables that we just talked about, and we're going to capture them, and we're going to reference those values in the script. Now, how do we do that? to do that, we're going to capture these as variables. So $1 is is going to be a value, and so what we can do to start off is we can simply variables have a name. You give a name to identify the variable, and a very simple one is maybe username. We'll create a variable called username, and this is how you create a variable. Pretty simple. And username equals $1. So the very first thing that'll happen in this script is that it will create space for a variable called username, and it will assign the value of username to whatever $1 is. Whatever that first positional parameter is, this is where it will get assigned. And then we can use username throughout our code to reference that value. So instead of having $1 everywhere, instead we can have username, which again is to me a lot more descriptive of what's actually happening here. And so it's a little more readable. Like I know what $1 is supposed to be. I know what it's supposed to be referencing, and so that's a little bit better. But we also have a $2 here, and we can also make it a little bit more readable by adding in that. So let's set our password equal to $2, and let's use password here. All right, so these are variables. These are variables that are created here. They hold values, and so now we saved username and we saved password, and we're using these variables to to reference the values throughout our application. And so let's see if this still works. Sorry, a little bit tired. And let's do Charlie. Password is QAWSEDRFTG. Very secure. Very secure. Account for Charlie has been created. Cat Etsy password. Charlie is in fact down here. Our script does appear to be working. Let's try to move to Charlie. I don't remember. The password was, yeah, who am I? I'm Charlie. Okay, so our script still works. So I'm gonna open it back up for you to take a look at and see if you can start to feel what we did. And what I'm also hoping is that I think one of the things that's most confusing about hopping directly into a bash script and taking a look at it is all of the special characters, all the non-standard characters, like the $ and the different colors and the colon and the pipe. Like, I think that stuff makes it look a lot tougher than it really is. We're doing some fairly simple things here. So take a look at it, see if you can wrap your head around what we've done so far. Again, it's been pretty simple, but we're about to step it up just a little bit. Yeah, we're about to step it up just a little bit. Any questions so far? And I will push this up for us to look at later. Yeah, for us to look at later for sure, or for you to edit. There is one on my GitHub from the last time we did this, and I actually think once we're done with this, we'll compare what we've made here to the one that we did then. Like I said, I switched it up a little bit. I think in the next step I switched it up a little bit, but we'll see how it differs. I can almost guarantee it'll be different in a lot of places, because again, you have a little bit of freedom in the way that you implement these things. But okay, because we're kind of short on time, let's keep going. Let's look at the next piece. So capture the command line arguments as variables and use those variables to reference the values in the script. That is what we just did. We captured the variable username and we captured the variable password, and we used these throughout our script. Great. Now, sorry, man. Now let's do the second piece, the super bonus, something that we did not learn last time, or that we did not do last time. The company, the company's hiring a bunch of people, but they also tell you, hey, we're hiring a lot of people, but because we're hiring a lot of people, we're going to be hiring in chunks of 50 for training purposes, for a lot of reasons, whether it makes sense or not. They're hiring in chunks of 50. All these people need to get into the system, and adding these users one by one is slow and cumbersome, but it would be really cool if we could take in a list of users from a separate file. And now we're about to have a little bit of fun. And so immediately you might say, whoa, another file? I don't know what that means. How can we even do anything like that? And I think what gets interesting about stuff like this is it's hard to even know what to Google. In this case, it's hard to know. The things that I would Google would be things that where I already know what I have to do, and maybe I'm just looking for syntax. So I know what to look for here, but something like this can be very confusing. You say, all right, I guess I'm gonna have a file which is a list of users, I guess, and I need to use that I guess as an entry to the script, or as a part of the script, to be able to create these things. And so first, let's start out by just creating a list of users. Maybe we will not do a list of 50, but maybe we'll do just a list of a couple real quick. How do I create a new file here? Is it m, and we'll call it names.txt. All right. So we're gonna put a bunch of stuff in here. Can Bash read CSV files? Yes, you can. I think so. I think you can get Bash to read CSV. Whenever I'm working with CSVs, though, I do not use Bash. I use Python whenever I'm using CSVs. Bash read CSV. It might be using the same thing. This like separated field, this ISF field. Yep. Why? So I guess it doesn't really matter, but you'll have to set up the fields. Interesting. It can. I've never ever used Bash for CSVs. I use Python for CSVs. So yes, you can. So name file. We're just gonna create a simple text file here, and I'm gonna take. I'm going to just put in a bunch of names here. I'm gonna take your names, and I'll probably spell them wrong, but I'm not gonna go back and fix them because it doesn't matter. I can't type. Let's grab like 10. Let's grab 10 of them really quick. Even though it says we're gonna add 50, let's start with 10. X polar. Oh man, I'm struggling typing because I'm under pressure because you're watching me do my thing. Rogue cow. There's underscore in there. Skills 1333 underscore st. Who else we got in here? Grumpy game dev. Grumpy game dev. Let's see. Sin City. Yes, you can copy and paste, but what fun is that when you can watch me? I wanted to type under pressure. 909. My typing was, I was working on my typing for a little while, but then I've stopped doing that. I don't know why I've stopped doing that, but there's a Sully in here in a Texas, or in a tux, I don't know. And did I get everyone that I can see? There we go. Last in 3. Come on. Okay. All right, so we got 10 people in here. Great. Imagine that this has 50. Imagine this has 50, and we could have also just generated there's a million ways we could have generated a list of 50 names. We could have made ATX, Austin, Texas. That makes perfect sense. Way more sense than in a tux. But yeah. Rima, we are doing some Bash scripting. We are learning how to Bash script a little bit. Put in one name twice. Yeah, that's okay. I will do that, and because you asked for it, Grumpy Game Dev, your name is going in twice, and I'll put it at the end, so I won't put it right next to everything else, but I'll put in your name twice. I do like that. That's exciting. We're adding a little complexity here, and now we're getting into the whole not debate, but the concept of clean data and all things that you have to account for in your job. But yes, this is great. So now we have a list of names, and so you might say, hey, I have no idea how to use the things that are in that list in this script. And so something you might Google. I'm trying to think of how I would Google this if I didn't already know the answer. We actually already found, just to give you, a spoiler alert, this is the answer from the CSV question. I thought it was gonna be something different, but you might say how to use text file in bash script or something like that. Maybe we would start with that. Maybe we would start with something like that, and you start to click around. And now you would not find this answer quickly. You would absolutely not find this answer quickly. But this is, again, so much of the learning comes in the exploration, and we end up on Java Point, Java T Point. This site looks kind of like W3 Schools. I'd never been here before, but it says, okay, reading a file. And so it says value equals cat file name. And so it's going to cat out the file. It's really weird, and echo value. And I don't really know what's happening right here. And they're giving me a bunch of examples and read file, and and it can be very confusing. There's a while thing here that, it's actually going to be doing some looping. It's going to be using some things you're not familiar with, and that's okay. You will learn a lot. I'm saying when you get to these points, you should be getting here, and you should be doing two things. You should, I did two things, and I think it was valuable. Again, if you're on a safe enough machine, if you're in a VM that you don't mind blowing away because you broke some stuff, grab their commands and put them in the script or run them manually and see what they do. And Google, and if it does something and you're like, okay, I see it did this, and try to put together what's happening, and Google bash while read or while read line, and you'll get some more information about that. And slowly and surely you'll start to put together the puzzle and the picture to what's happening, and you will get better and better. And once you've learned the thing by going through the fire, you will maybe you won't remember the syntax, maybe you won't remember exactly what to do, but you will absolutely remember what the concept of what you have to do is, and it will help you in the future. In a problem like this, we learn about the word parse, because that's the key learning here. Yes, parsing, parsing for sure. Any command in Linux, always Google it, as long with the man page. Always, seriously, Google it. Google it first. Know what it does. At least try to have an understanding of what it does before you just run it. Yeah, we're gonna pipe the list into unique and make sure we don't have any dupes. Yes. See, there's a lot of options here. And so as you get into your career, some of the things in Linux administration, the reason why I actually did throw in, if I gave you this, if you wrote this script, how we're gonna probably write it tonight. If you wrote this script and you ran it with this input or input like this that had multiple things in it, you would run into problems in the script. And a lot of times, these are the reasons why people harp on experience. Like, debate, like, companies do not do a good job of knowing how much experience they need, or how much experience will allow a person to complete the job that they're talking about. But these are the little things that incorporate that experience. Yes, you can learn how to bash script. Yes, you can learn Linux commands, but it's really once you start to apply those things where you start to run into stuff like this, and where you can start to think about what you're getting and what you're doing. And it takes time. It really does take time to kind of get all the way there. But let's we don't need to see that, but we need to read in this file. We need to parse this file. So I could interesting. This is kind of how I would do it, but let's see. Read each line by omitting / escape echo line. Let's let's copy this. I'm gonna copy this and I'm gonna see if this does what I want it to do. And the way that I'm gonna check this is I'm actually gonna comment out, I'm gonna comment out everything. And the only reason I'm not gonna do a block comment is because I don't know how to block uncomment right now. So I don't want to add any extra comments. And while read our line do echo line read file.txt. All right, so I'm gonna break it down for you because I know what this is asking. And so if we went through all of this, it may walk you to what's going on in here. But what's happening is this is a while loop. And so it's very funny when I come from a couple times I talked to a developer who like knows a little bit of Linux, and I'm showing them some stuff and they're like, oh man, you really get like things like this in Bash, like you get loops. I was like, yeah, like yes, you have conditional statements, you have your ifs and your else ifs, you have loops, you have your for loop, you have your while loop. You have these things available to you to make some decisions, to do some cool stuff. People are I've been surprised at how many people are surprised that these things exist. Visual block mode in Vim, yes. So visual block mode in Vim, I know how to block comment, but I do not know how to block uncomment. And maybe if you know how to teach me, I mean I could just Google it, but maybe if you could teach me, that'd be great. Loops in Bash, it's the greatest. It's the greatest. And so what this will do is this says the while says, hey, while a condition I set is true, continue to run the block of code that's in here. Like just keep running it as long as whatever I specify is true. And so basically the thing that it is determining whether it's true or false is basically this read our line. And so this is a bash thing, but what it can do is it can read each line of the file that we pass in. So and what it's going to do is when it reads it in, it's going to echo, like, so basically run the code underneath here. And this is the part that says, hey, go ahead and actually do the code. So this determines how long it runs. This determines what it's doing, and all it's doing, the code is doing echo line, and that line is in reference to here. Now, I'm running through this really fast for you. This is while we're doing this in Bash, this concept is not a Linux scripting concept. This is a process. This is a processing problem. This is more akin to this is something you would absolutely learn if you were learning how to program. But this is just a tool, a paradigm to logically find an answer when you need to process something multiple times. And again, I can point you to some videos about loops because I have a number of them. But it's basically going to just say, hey, run this code a bunch of times until this is no longer true. So it's basically saying for all the lines that are in whatever file you pass in. And so here's where we're passing in the file. We're going to pass it into this loop. It's going to say for each of these files, run this bit of code. And so I'm going to specify this file real quick as names.txt. And let's see, it should just spit out each of those names. And let's see. I did not mean to do that. So Control Z, clear. And if I do / user creation, look at that. That's nice. It did go through that list. It was almost like it did a cat. It almost like we did a fancy cat. If I cat out all the names, this happens. But that command just echoed each of them out. So right now we have a bit of code that's iterating through the names in that file, and I did not mean to do that. I meant to do this. All right. Okay, so this is great. This is nice. This is nice. This tells me that I have access to the names that are in this file, and each time this runs, it's actually doing a different thing. It's actually each time you see one of those names, it's a different run of this loop. This loop runs once, and it comes back to the top and says, hey, is this true? Like, is this thing still true for me to do? If so, go ahead and run it again. So basically, as long as there are lines left in this file, this will continue to run, and then it'll do this. So each of those is a new line. And because of this, that now means we can actually take our code from up here, and we can grab this stuff and we can do some cool things. Let's see, let's take all of this and let's just put it here, and I'll leave that. All right, and I'm actually gonna delete this. Okay, so now here's what's different. What's different now is I'm not just echoing the stuff out. This while loop will run whatever code is in the middle here, it'll try to run it. And so what we need to do is we need to get this back. And we need to get this back, but this also needs to move down. Actually, no, it doesn't need to move down. We need this still, but we don't need to do it. Let's see, actually, let's paste them in and let's think about this for a second. So what is our username going to be now? Our username is going to be whatever is in whatever's line that this names.txt file is on. So instead of username being 1, it's actually going to be $line, but we don't even need this username variable anymore. It's going to be $line. So whenever we see username, actually, you know what? Because we're using it in more than one space, and I just want to use the things that we're learning tonight. Username equals $line, and password equals $2. And you might say, all right, well, am I passing anything? I don't know. I think we'll have to determine something better for this, but we can leave the rest of this the same. But for the password, for now, let's give everyone the same password. For now, everyone's password is password1. Just for now. We will fix this later. Everyone's password will be password1, and hopefully, when we run this, for everyone in this file, in this names.txt file, hopefully it'll go through and it will create a user for them. And let's see if this works. Let's save it, and let's run this again. And it goes through, and it looks like it's doing something. We'll get a lot of permission denied. We'll simply add a sudo to this instead of putting it in the script. Type in our password, and it runs through. Doesn't give us much output, much output at all. And it says user, the grumpy dev already exists. Now let's check to see what actually happened. One, I want you to notice that we did this thing and we got very little output. That's the first thing, but let's see what actually happened by checking the SE password file. And look at the names that are here. We have Marco Dev, hey, silly boy, whoops. We got everyone here, Road Cow, you know, Polar Dreams. We have everyone that we put in this list. We even have the Grumpy Game Dev in here, right? So great. It looks like it created everyone. It looks like it did everyone, even though it gave an error on Grumpy Game Dev. And that's because we had a secondary option for Grumpy Game Dev in the list. Now, actually, let me show you what happens if we run this again. Let's run the same script again. If we run it, we get all these errors. We get them say, hey, it's not really errors. It says that this already exists. If we do echo $? It does actually work. So this will not break the paradigm, which is nice, actually. I actually thought it was going to give us an error code, but it says they already exist, so it doesn't do anything. That's really nice, actually, because then it doesn't matter what we do with the list. But I took everyone in, and it did in fact add them to the system, which is super duper nice. Okay. Yeah, take a look at that. Now, loops, again, like I said, are a little bit confusing, are a lot bit confusing, to be 100% honest. There are other ways to do this as well that makes it a little bit I actually really prefer what we found for the CSV. using the I forgot what the IFS stands for, or ISF, which is like it's like some kind of special file. Yeah, this IFS character or whatever, or tool or whatever it is. I forgot what it is. But this is the same thing, and this is also a while loop. Same thing, but I think the syntax is a little more readable here. But this is also a while loop, and it's just basically saying, hey, while there's a line left in input.csv, go ahead and do this bit of code. And so I think that might help if I move the do line down. Oh, infill separator. Okay, yeah, I never really remember what it stood for, but I can also maybe make it a little bit easier if I do it like this. It's a little more readable, I think, at least. So cool. It does all this stuff in here. You can choose what breaks up lines. That makes sense. All right, so instead of it being a new line, you can choose. That makes a lot of sense, actually. All right, so now our script, because we pass in people with batches of 50, our script now takes in a text file where we can add everyone. So that's nice. That means when new users come in, instead of us having to do anything fancy or anything manually, we can be provided a list of names, or we can create a list of names with the people who have come in, and we can create accounts for them, all that we can log in with. And so all of those users do in fact have a password of did I save this? Let's save it. But there's still FG running, and this needs to be updated. Let's load the update. There we go. Yeah, so now we can just use this one script to add as many users as we would like all at once, which is really cool. So I only wanted to add in this piece, this bonus piece, to really kind of up the ante a little bit on what you can do with the script. Because again, now you're getting into loops is a bit of an advanced topic, and it takes a while to kind of get up on it. But I just want to show you how powerful something like this is. You can run code over and over again. You can automate the functioning of code over and over again. Now let's head back over with a little bit of time that we have left. That was in the part of number 1. Now let's start with number 2. We're still going to end at 9, but let's just start to do let's do a little recap really quick of part 1, and let's start diving into part 2 so we can kind of just get to what we can get to. But just a recap, what did we learn here? 1, we learned a little bit about the shebang, about the identifying what the execution what's going to be executed in this file right at the top. The first line up there starts with the pound exclamation point, and Sully did teach us why that was the case. We also use standard Linux command to automate actions. So before, the while stuff is still standard Linux commands, but like we just simply use simple commands like add user or user add and echo to be able to automate some actions that we might take manually. And then we use what we learned in programming fundamentals to use variables to make the script more readable and easier to work with, as well as to allow us to do a command way more than just 1 or 2 times without having to retype that command. So that's just part 1 recap. That's just kind of the concepts that we picked up here. So part 2. This is way more messed up. Let's see. Part 2 really quick. Any questions about part 1 so far? I'll put it up for everyone to kind of grab, because again, the while loop is really, the syntax of it and everything is confusing. So maybe you want to copy it. But any questions about part 1 so far? And we'll see how much we can get done in like 15 minutes with part 2. Actually, you know what? Let's not even start part 2 yet. Let's think about what this script really is supposed to do. We're working at this company. We're supposed to be creating these users. We do not want all of these users to have the same password, do we? No, we don't. And so we might say, hey, all right, well, we can't pass in passwords, so we can do a couple things. We could make a there's like 10 ideas that you can do with this. There's one that you should do, but so you can have fun with this. we don't want to give everyone the same password, and we don't really, so we could do two things. We could maybe have another loop that's reading in a password list instead and passing that in somewhere. Maybe that sounds hectic, but maybe we can do something like that. Or we could maybe just generate a random password here. So maybe let's try that. Let's try generating a random password. And again, this is not something you should just know in Bash, but again, this is something you Google and you can say exactly this. You can say Bash generate random. So random string came up. That must have been when we Googled last time. I didn't click on any of these, but a string is just letters and numbers. It's a string of characters. It's a list of characters all together. And there's a bunch of different options. You can see an overwhelming amount of options. We even have one that says 10 ways to generate random passwords from Linux. And again, you don't click on the one that sounds like it's going to give you as many options as possible. It was done in 2019 as well, which is really nice, pretty recent. And so let's see how we can do that. And so generate a random password. For any of these random password commands, you can either modify them to output a different password length, or you can choose the first X characters. And so we can grab this command. This method uses SHA to hash the date, runs through base 64, and then outputs top 32 characters. Bunch of probable things in there you've never heard of or don't know about or care about for now. But I might take this and say, all right, I wonder if this will work. And again, don't just be running commands willy-nilly. I'm gonna run it willy-nilly because I'm doing this in a safe space. If I blow up my whole computer, completely fine. I'll be back up and running in no time. But you probably shouldn't do that. And so let's get out of here. And I'm gonna run this. And then I'm gonna run it and see what happens. And then I'm gonna take a look at it. And again, what you should do is you should start to man these commands. So you should man base 64. I mean, you should go in order. That would make the most sense. But it will tell you what different stuff is. Base 64, encode or decode data and print the standard output. And maybe I just want to man date and print or set the system date and time. And I can start to run these individually if I want to see what it did. So date gives you this, and you probably have to look through to see what this is asking for. But what this is essentially doing is this is using some cryptography as well as some data base conversions, but using date to seed it. So actually, if I run this command twice at the exact like 0.01 seconds after each other, because I think this is using seconds, it will actually give me the same output. Let's see if I can do that. Hold on. Yeah, there we go. I did it twice really fast. And look at this, I actually got the same output. So it's not all that, it's not really random. It's not really random. It's using the time to seed it. Basically, I just ran it fast enough to where both of these had the same input and it gave us the same output. But again, it's only if it has to do with time, no big deal. But it does, that looks like a pretty secure password to me. Yeah, that looks like a pretty secure password to me. And so yeah, we could use that to generate a secure password, or if you just want to look through and find some other ways, looks like there's a bunch of different ways to kind of get it. The easiest way to make a password from the command line, which works in Linux, Windows, with Cygwin, and probably Mac OS X. Look at that, that's shorter. I'll try that one out. That one looks cool to me. And I thought I copied it, but I copied it. And I don't like the okay, cool, whatever. And that looks pretty cool, and look, that looks the same as if it looks like it's doing the same thing with date as well. But pretty easy way to get a password. And let's see if we can apply that to our script. And so password, remember, every time it hits this code right here, every time it hits this code, it is going to run it's going to run this over and over again. So each time it's going to rerun this. Now, the way that you there's actually a couple of different ways you can do this too, but I can't just plug this in right here. I need to tell it to kind of execute this and to save the value. So I'll put these in a $sign and parentheses. It's going to run this, and it's going to take the output and it's going to assign it to password. And so this will allow me to do this. And so let's switch up the names here. And let's see, how can I get a random names list? Let's actually do a random name generator just for fun, so we can get some random name list generator. How about that? No. I don't want to randomize the list. I want to. How many names? I want 50 names. I want 50 names so that I have 50 people on this computer. Really annoying. I don't know why I'm doing this. I can delete them. Not a problem. Both. It's gonna be first and last names. I just want a first letter, last letter. How do I not do last name? Number of syllables. I kind of name length is 0. How about that for last name? What? I don't want a last name. I don't want to use this tool then if I can't do that. I would like well, that's okay. We can I'm trying to think of how much work I feel like doing. I don't want it to, this first last name is gonna be whack. I want, it's really interesting, they all do first and last names. Random first name. There we go. You know, you gotta get real creative here. A list of random names. I want a list of 50. I want both. I want first names only. Yes. Create nicknames using alliteration. No, it's fine. And here we go. And ew, this is a PDF list in text area. There we go. Here's what we want. We deleted everyone in here, and we are gonna paste them all in. They all have, that's fine. They all have spaces at the end, which I don't like, but doesn't matter. We have 50 people here, and we're gonna add them to this system with their own custom passwords. Now, I will say, we don't know what the password is, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna add a line here just so we can test login. We're gonna say echo $ username as a password of $$ password, and let's see if this works. So we get some output, excuse me, so we get a little bit of output. I probably should put this at the end so that it actually does it first, but let's save it and let's run this, and let's get way too many users added to this system. / user creation. Ooh, okay. A lot happened here. Let's read one of these. This failed. Auth token password not changed. Is this a sudo problem? What did I run? No, I ran sudo. And let's see. I don't know. Oh, Carlton has a password of, so I tried to, but the password couldn't be changed. It's probably because of what type this might be, but who knows? Password line 1 is generate a password not changed. So generates a password, but it can't properly, let's see, can't properly pass correctly. Let's see something real quick. Let's vim it. See if we go. Oh, nope. FG. Doesn't like this. It is not like, I bet this has to do with the dash, the space dash in the back. It can't password this. But I bet you if we use the first one that we saw, I bet you it'll work. And this is how you could YOLO stuff. And we could spend some time figuring out why this didn't work, but I bet you this will work. I don't even think I need to echo that out, but I'm gonna echo it out anyway. All right, let's try this again. And it still doesn't work. And so are these people here? I don't know what's happening with the all the colors. But they did not get added, which is kind of good. So let's see if we can figure, I don't know what's going on. Let's see. Password, and was it echoing out those people's passwords? Well, let me go up above this. Let's do that again. All right. So it is generating a password, but it's getting a failed check authentication token manipulation error. Password not changed, manipulation error. Why is it giving us that problem? Let's see. Password sets. It doesn't like, I wonder if I have to like, wonder if I have to like do something like this because of what's in here or what can be in some of them. But let's actually Google that error. When in doubt, Google the error that you're getting. I could probably do that whole thing, but you can simply just Google that error. Maybe it'll give you a problem. Maybe it'll give you the answer. Maybe not. Generic, the usual change, password 1. If you do your password, you should carefully, you should be given password is compatible with system configuration. This is the problem. This is it. Maybe some curly brackets too, like that was on the username. Yeah. That may work. Yeah, I think it just has to do with the characters that are in them. And is curly brackets the right? Is that well, so maybe. Possibly. Definitely possible. No, it doesn't like yeah, it's just the format in which I'm passing it in is wrong. And it has to do with what it's creating. Let's see. Where did the other thing go? I just want to see if we can get it fixed in 2 minutes, but if we can't, not a big deal. Just trying to have a little fun. Oh man, sorry. Make sure the file system is manner. No, recuperation. Let me see. So let's try this. Let's actually do should pass random password. Let's try this. Assign random password to all existing. Let's see what people are doing. And so, okay, all right, you know, this is giving us back to what we already have. This person wants to assign a new random value to all existing users. Okay, all right, so manually generate one, and these are just ways you can do it. Let's see. All right, that's not what we thought we were looking for, and let's try one more. standard in input file MD5. Oh, what is this? Well, encrypt the password using MD5. I don't want to encrypt it. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure why I can't do that. I should be able to do that, no problem. I'm pretty sure. You know what's interesting? Let's do this. Let's see how we did it before, because I think we did something like this before. I wonder if it's in here. I don't know. Repositories, scripts. This is where the other one is. If anyone wants to see it, I'll give you a link. Here's the repo. If anyone wants to see the first one that we did, where we went a little bit farther, this one is a little, you can see this one's a little bit longer. We did some other stuff. We used functions in this one, but I wonder how we did it here. We took in username and password. If the password didn't exist, we created the password. So we did do the same. We created the password. I guess we made a credentials file. That's smart. And we did the same thing. So interesting. Hold on. Let's put it side by side real quick. And let's see. What? Let's see. Echo. We had it set to just this before. That looks right. I wonder if I have to actually sudo the. I'm gonna be mad if this is the problem. And we actually are using the exact same date thing up here. So let's actually. But I'm using sudo. I'm using sudo to run the whole thing. I don't think sudo is the problem. No big deal if this doesn't work. We'll just try this last piece and see if it works. But this is the fun of kind of messing with some of this stuff, and they're not here. Yeah, they didn't even get in the system. So, oh well, didn't work. But yes, this is how you bash script. I'm gonna let you go at 9:00. It's 9:02. I'm gonna let you go. But what are you supposed to get at tonight? This is supposed to be a little bash scripting lab. It was supposed to show you how you could take the commands that we've learned so far and that you could automate them. You could have the computer automatically process those commands to achieve a certain task. We set up a scenario. We work at a company and we needed to do, create some things to make our lives a little bit easier. And again, in the short amount of time that we had tonight, this was a very short script. We didn't get quite as far. Maybe try taking a look at the one that we have here and maybe try running it. The one that we have here is actually kind of nice. We did some things to where we did some added some logic to say, hey, if they pass in a password, use that password. But if they don't pass in a password, go ahead and generate a random one, which is really nice. And we just kind of have a lot of things here. We created a credentials file for the person. So if we generate a random password, they have to know how to get that password. And so we did that as well. So if you want to dive into this one, I think this was like a 3.5 hour video stream that we did. Let me get you the link for this one right now, actually. It's on YouTube. And it is in a playlist. This one was in the DevOps boot camp at the beginning of the year. And this one would have been in, here we go. If you're interested in going through that one, yep, like I said, 3.5 hours. That's how much longer it took us. We only did 2 hours here tonight. So if you want to check that out, feel free to check that out when we did that. And to see how we got to this end state. If you're confused about anything that happens in here, if you're looking through some of the things that we did here, you can kind of see what is happening. We're even doing some emailing in here, which is kind of nice. I don't remember us doing that, but again, took us a lot longer. But check it out. Definitely check it out. Now that is the end. We're at the end of Waddle. We're at the end of the Foundations in Linux course. You might say to yourself, all right, I got through these 6 classes about Linux. Now you should know, you should know some basic Linux commands. You should understand how to navigate to the Linux file system. You should understand the Linux file system a little bit. You should know how to get around, change directories, move forwards and backwards. You should understand file pathing, so relative file pathing versus absolute file pathing. You should understand some of the commands to find out what's going on in the system, to gather information, things like top, things like htop, things like free to get memory. You should know how to edit some text a little bit using nano. We did a little bit with vi or vim, so you should be able to edit some text a little bit. But yeah, we did a number of things here that should really have given you a base. Now there will be a Linux excursion that's a little bit more advanced than this, that dives a little bit deeper into kind of the systems administration world of Linux. There's not, as of right now, there's no plans for a full journey. There'll probably be another 6 to 8 parter that talks a little bit more about administration and does exactly what we did here, which is to put things into a scenario for you. So it's going to be all scenario based, where we're going to say, hey, this is the scenario. You are working here in this position, and the goal of the company or the goal of this task is to make this happen. How can we make that happen? And we'll talk through and we'll learn through some cool things you can do in Linux. Again, that will be things like understanding how to cool ways to parse logs, and to how to use tail and grep and awk and other things to be able to extract information from places that you want, how to find, filter the file system for files and directories, and just put it into context, some of the basic commands that we've learned, and kind of add and stack on top of that. That will come out before the year is out. Still doing some higher level planning, but yeah, that's the end of this. If you are interested, that tomorrow is the last day of Contained. If you're doing both, we will be learning how to understand how to Dockerize applications. So we're going to take existing applications and we're going to learn how to approach them, how to break them down, and how to Dockerize applications that already exist, because this is a common paradigm. You go into a company, they're looking to move to Docker, they're looking to containerize their applications, and now you've got to take this application that you may not know that much about, and you've got to get it into a space in which it runs inside of a container. So we'll learn how to break that down, and we'll learn how to approach that tomorrow, and that will be the end of Contained. Next week we are not starting the Ansible stuff yet. We're starting the Ansible and Git the week after. If you're interested in Ansible, Terraform. We're doing Terraform and Git the following week. Next week, we're actually going to be diving back into the project that we were originally working on. This project is called Cerebro. We are building an open source application, an open source course building tool for people to be able to come in and build courses out of all the free content that already exists online. And it's really a way to kind of curate the technical content that already exists out there on the internet. I think it's gonna be fun. So we're gonna dive back into that a bit, pretty much all of next week, and the following week is when we'll start to the Terraform stuff, as well as the Git stuff. But yes, thank you all for spending some time with me over the past 6 weeks. For this, like I said, there will be more and more of these. Many of you know, we talked about it again last night, but many of you know I'm preparing, like the next 50 something days are going to be pretty hectic. Trying to plan some things out. I am going full-time. I'm going to be a full-time entrepreneur, so I'll have much more time to kind of create some of these things, create some of these courses, create some of these experiences. There's going to be some interesting, pretty bold things that I plan on trying. Not just in terms of the way that a class can happen. We're gonna try out some cool stuff. If we fail, great. If it doesn't work, if it just doesn't work how it's working in my head, no problem. We tried, we failed, but we're gonna try some cool stuff on here to kind of add to the collaboration and just the way that we approach the stuff. Right now we're doing a lot of standard teach practice stuff. We're gonna switch that. We're gonna flip that around a little bit. We're gonna flip around a lot, actually. So yeah, that's it. I'm actually really tired and I'm about to go get some sleep, But come back through tomorrow for Contained if you want to learn a little bit more about that. But right now we're gonna head over and we are going to raid somebody who's online. Let's see who's online tonight. Coding Garden's on. If Coding Garden's on, we're gonna head over to Coding Garden. All right, Laston, have a great night. Coding Garden does some great stuff. Very good channel to learn a lot of things. Teaches a lot, does a lot of coding katas. Looks like he's doing coding katas right now. Can't do this over here. /raid. What is it? Is it decoding or it's just Coding Garden? Tell him we said hello. Again, thank you everyone for the great 6 weeks. We'll be back again. We'll definitely be back again. But yeah, you know, all the information. I have a schedule coming out. In fact, I'm going to try to get the schedule up tonight. I have a couple other things I need to do tonight. I'm trying to get the schedule out tonight so that you guys can throw it on your calendar or have a place to click on to follow all the things that are happening, since there's so many different things that are coming up. But yeah, I'll definitely get you guys that information. I know it's been taking a long time. I'm sorry. But all right, Dejo Ramos and the Ship Shoop. Absolutely. Everybody have a good night. We're heading over to Coding Garden right meow. Peace out.